Well, good morning. Thanks for joining us today, man. We have a lot to learn, so I'm excited for you taking time on a Saturday to hang out and learn about buying an RV. So brought in an expert, Eric. Thanks for joining us, Eric. I'll introduce you here in a second. Let's give everybody a second to get logged in. While you're logging in, go ahead and find the chat area. So throughout the whole time today, it's not going to be that long, but 45 minutes, an hour, you're going to have opportunity to put in your questions in that chat area. So don't be afraid to type any question in there. But for starters, let's put in what city that you're watching from, and that'd be awesome. Just do a little shout out there, and we can say hi to you guys as we get everybody loaded in here, and we will get started. Got some big buying mistakes I want to make sure that you guys are equipped to handle. There's probably a bunch of stories Eric has because he's seen a lot of folks coming in to buy RVs that have either bought one before and had some issues or have been learning the hard way. So we've taken all those lessons, piled them up into 1 hour, and we're going to give them to you, and so you don't have to make the same mistakes. So that's the thing. You don't want to make the mistakes twice. So greetings to Dante in Maine. Nice. Probably still cold up there. I'm in Cleveland, Ohio. Eric's down in the Columbus area, about 45 minutes northwest of Columbus?
Approximately, like yeah.
In Lakeview, Ohio. Gail, greetings in Arizona. Now that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Nice and warm. Toby in Atlanta. Hello from Waxhaw, North Carolina. Phil, good to see you. And we have Judy in Texas. Steve out in Good Thunder, Minnesota. Minnesota? Is that how you say it? Anyways, Rhonda, Ace and Rhonda in Quincy, Illinois. Howdy to Kenneth. Atlanta, Randy, good to see you. Lorraine in Patterson, California. William in Milwaukee. Good morning, William. Nassau, New Hampshire. Greta, St. George, Utah. Michael, we have Sarah down in Arizona. Also, a couple of Arizona folks. That's nice. Candace in Florida. That's where I wish I was right now. Terry in Buffalo Grove, Illinois. Been there. Kenneth in Whidbey Island. That sounds really cool. I don't even know where that is, but Kenneth, tell us what state that's in. That's awesome. Sarah in Phoenix. Rita in Payson, Arizona. Dell in Mississippi. Ocean Springs.
Ooh, Ocean Springs. Good barbecue down there at the shed.
Wait, well, how do you know?
Oh, my goodness. I love the shed.
Walton, Delaware, President's Summer Home. Okay, cool. Walt Palmer. All right, awesome. Well, thank you guys for taking time to figure out the chat. We're going to record the session today, so as you're taking notes, don't worry about getting everything. You can always watch the replay. That will show up in your email in about 2 hours. So Whidbey Islands in Washington. Okay, that's cool. But that's beautiful. And the summer is going to be an amazing place to go camping. That's what we should do, Eric. We should take a camper out there and check that out.
I am down for that.
I spent 10 years running a camp on Kelly's Island. So I love islands, love taking ferries. Well, I don't like paying the bill for the ferries. But anyways, camping is awesome. You guys are going to love it. And I'm so proud of you for taking time. Eric LeRoy is here to help us. He's been selling RVs for years, but this isn't about sales. So this is the owners of RV Wholesalers, where he works, asked us, and they were teachers for about 10 years before they got into the RV industry. And so they have this heart to like train, equip, and they realize like, man, we can only sell so many thousand of these a year. Like we can't sell the 500, 600,000 that are going to be sold this year. So why don't we just help everybody, equip everybody? And if some of those people we can take care of, great. But everybody will be taken care of in the knowledge that they learn. So that's our goal today. And we're going to dive in. The biggest mistake that we see right off the bat is, well, next slide. Okay. So here's my first camping trip. I forgot I had that slide in here. Sorry. So that's when I'm up in British Columbia, Canada. My dad actually built that RV, that little camper topper. And we went out to Boot Lake camping, and we ran into this on our way up this forestry road. This huge tree was falling over. And I remember we're just like, oh my, we cannot get through here. We'll just have to wait for the forestry service to cut this thing down. So it ended up being almost a day and a half before they got there. So we pitched our little lean-to, and I'll never forget that night. About 2 a.m, I remember waking up crying, telling my mom, like, I want to sleep in the RV. I want to sleep in the RV, in the truck. And so we get in there, and the next morning, my brothers are walking around the campground, and they found huge bear prints. So I like to say RVs saved my life, because I was safe and sound inside the camper topper, the RV. So anyways, good times up in British Columbia, Canada. Beautiful country up there by Washington. And but yeah, so the number one thing we see people making a mistake is not asking for the out the door price. So Eric, tell us some of the stuff that you've heard and why that's important, and pricing. And we're going to dive into pricing for a while, and hidden fees and all this kind of stuff. So.
Oh yeah, I've heard so many creative ways to make money off of people. It's crazy. You know, I know
sad,
that.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, it's sad, really.
Oh, it really is. And you know, I think I remember talking to you one time a while back where, you know, there was even like a Route 66 fee or something like that, and I'm just thinking, I'm like, what in the world? You know, anybody that's done their job long enough, and you know, including me, you know, you know what happens, what people say, or what is to be expected, and I find myself all the time hearing really creative ways on how to hear something that is just off the wall. It almost doesn't even make sense. You know, yeah. And that's just one out of probably a million I can pull out of my head right now.
Yeah. So tell us why, like if you guys get nothing else, I want to make sure that when you go in and you're getting close to making a decision on an RV, that you're not surprised like this, you know, like you're not surprised with these hidden fees that pop up at the end. So if you remember nothing else, make sure you ask for, get in writing, whatever you feel that you need to do to know what the price is going to be when you walk out the door. So everything included, like taxes. I mean, because you really can't shop. That's the thing. There's this game that's being played, right, with dealers where this price may look better, but then what you're not seeing is some of the other add-ons that happen when you sign the final paperwork at the last minute. So that's where you gotta, when you're comparing apples to apples, that's where you gotta know, like, what's my out the door price. And that's really the only way to tell what it is. Cause it's not like the car industry where there's an invoice and, you know, this is how much the dealer is making above invoice. And this is this, you know, it's not laid out like that. The MSRP pricing is all over the board, and we'll talk more about that later. But yeah, so why don't we dive into some of those hidden fees that you're seeing?
Yeah, and you know, and to know what that out the door price is, you have to know what all fees are including and is being included in something. So like one of the biggest ones that somebody can get you over on is a Pdi fee, like a pre-delivery inspection fee, and that's something that nobody should ever have to pay. You know, whether it be a car, RV, a boat, or a lawnmower. If it's at a dealership and they have a pre-delivery inspection fee, you need to know about that, and you need to pre-negotiate up front that you are not going to pay that, because that's basically the dealership is charging you to get that camper ready for you to take custody of that you already bought. So they're charging you even more money to get a camper that you already bought.
Yeah. Just Eric, just to explain to our folks that are new. So PDI, sometimes, I mean, we have all these little terms in the RV industry, but this pre-delivery inspection, I mean, that's a very involved inspection that happens at a dealership. So I remember one time I was up at RV Wholesalers and I felt rain coming down on my shoulder. I'm like, what? Why is this rain cloud following me around? And I look up and there's a guy on top of a camper with a hose spraying down the top of going around the vents and the AC unit with a hose and then he's going inside to check for leaks. So that's the kind of stuff, like they have an iPad with 100 points, they're taking pictures, and they're seriously going through everything, turning on the heater, making sure it heats up, burning off the, like the oils and everything that comes from the factory. They're testing the plumbing. I mean, all these things are happening in a PDI. So it's definitely something you want to happen. But like you said, it's the responsibility of that dealer. I mean, they're getting paid. If they find something, it's kind of the factory's second wave of inspections that happen. If they were to find something, the factory gives them warranty dollars to fix it. So they're actually making money by doing these. So why would they want to charge a customer, what is it, a few $100s, or is it, what are you seeing?
Well, in some cases, I've seen pre-delivery inspection fees as high as $2,500.
Jeez, yeah.
And on average you'll see them about $1,200, but I've seen them as high as $2,500.
Yeah, I had one couple. We were videotaping for our upcoming virtual RV show that we have on the 31st. And last month when we were taping, there was a couple that had just purchased Rockwood. And that's what they said. They were using it for and replacing hotels with it, so that they didn't have to stay in hotels anymore. And what they were saying was, yeah, we went down the road and they were charging us, I think they said $1,400 for a walkthrough PDI thing, and then they left. They ended up saving like $9,000 or something. But anyways, but yeah, so PDI. Talk a little bit more about that. Is there anything else on that hidden fee that?
Well, with PDI, just know if there's anything you take home about this subject is that you should never have to pay a PDI fee. You also should never have to pay for a walkthrough. That's basically where their service department will walk you through and show you how to use your trailer so you can inspect your trailer before you take it. That also is something that you shouldn't be paying. Dealer prep, that kind of goes along with PDI. You don't ever pay dealer prep. There's a lot of fees up there, and to answer kind of touch on Paul's question down here is that how do you truly know if you're getting the out the door price? Well, if they say that this is what you're paying to the very end of the process, so we'll say, for example, delivered to your door or hitched to your truck, and you are leaving out the door with fees, tax, everything like that is what you really need to look for. And if they start nailing you on this stuff in the back end, you have to be very wary of that, because they're going to throw these on you when your kids are there and they picked out the perfect bunk, and the wife loves the bathroom, and everybody's fallen in love with it. Now you got hit with $4,000 worth of additional fees after everybody's in love with it.
And especially now, if you custom ordered it or you waited several months for it to be built and it's finally coming in, it's like, what are you going to do at that point? It's not like you can just run to the next dealer and say, hey, can you order me another one, and then miss all of camping season. So very important. Yeah, that's kind of how they get it, I think, is some of the pressure, like you said, with the family being there. You waited, and what are you going to do at that point? And so,
well, it's something to be known is that even though that this is buying an RV is an emotional purchase, because you want to be close with your family and you want to go out and have good quality family time, completely unplugged almost, and it's euphoric, and they take advantage of you in a euphoric state, knowing that you would just waited 3 months for this trailer. Are you really going to say no? And that's the reality of it.
Yeah, that's true. And so if you're going with these, this is kind of how the process works. So you put down a deposit once you figure out your RV, whether it's at a show, we'll talk about those in a minute, whether it's at a show or at a dealership. And then you have this waiting period while either the RV gets prepped or, like ready for you to pick it up, or whether it's a custom order where it's coming from the factory, it's being built. And then you have the period where you come in. At that point, that's when you sign paperwork for service contracts. If you want to extend the warranty time, you pay your taxes. You basically pay taxes for sales tax for whatever state you reside in. So sometimes it's different in different states, like when that happens and how that happens exactly. But those are numbers you need to know about. And then you sign your financing paperwork. And so that all happens right there. And that's when these fees are popping up. It's like as you're going through your sales agreement. So that's where I say, ask for a sales agreement when you go with the deposit. We've seen so many people call in, right, Eric, where they just, they didn't even ask for, like, they're just crazy. Taking the word of a salesperson that this is the price. And man, we're seeing price increases on a regular basis, like every 2-3 months, there's price increases and things. Yeah. And some of these dealerships are going back to the people and saying, well, sorry, but the factory is charging us an extra amount, even though we ordered it before the price increase. Yeah. And legitimately, they're not lying. The factory is making them pay an additional amount to get that RV delivered at a later time, even though they ordered it prior. Yeah. So that's true. But what's not true is that you had an agreement to buy this trailer for this price. So that means the dealership has to eat it, or they should not be coming back to you. And so if you have that in writing, they can't. If you don't have it in writing, they can, and they'll make it sound like, well, they're raising it. We've seen some of them, they'll raise it. The factory will raise it, say $1,000, and then the dealership will say they raised it $2,000, but let's split the difference so that the dealership gets $1,000 from you. So all kinds of stuff we're seeing. So sad. Let's jump into a couple questions, and then we'll talk about a couple other hidden fees to watch out for. I gave you a download. So if you saw a little button that says download, it's a one-page PDF. It has all the stuff written down, so you don't have to write all the notes. So have fun with that. So Rhonda asked, when is demand the lowest? Well, I don't see anything happening in the short run because what's happened is in the industry, and I was just out at the factories. Last week I was out at one of the factories, and in the last few months been at pretty much all the factories that at least RV wholesalers are connected to. And it's not slowing down at all. And they're not sacrificing quality, and they're not saying, hey, let's add a third shift and run all night. Let's keep our normal processes. Let's keep our normal people, and we'll just go at this pace that we can. And it's good from the quality standpoint. It's bad from the backlog because now they're further back as far as when you order. It just takes more and more time. So it is nice in that I think the quality is actually going up because what I'm seeing is they're focusing longer on a run. So one manufacturer may have 20 models, and sometimes they'll crank out 3 models in one day. Like they'll do 5 in the morning, 5 in the afternoon, a different model. And so they're switching models. And so now they've got so many orders that they're going longer runs on a model, which I think is good for quality because they get in a run that's easier to keep the quality up. So quality is going up. So don't be afraid about that. It's just the wait time and the demand. So it's going to be a while and on that one. So I don't even know when it'll slow down. And even the used, it kind of brings up the question of used versus new. The used prices are so high, they're higher than the new one. I had friends that they paid more for their used one than they could have bought a brand new one with all the bells and whistles and stuff. So Candace, my plan is to buy an RV and live in it permanently in an RV park on an annual spot. Yeah, so look at park models. You don't need all the extra bells and whistles to drag it across the country and the tire monitoring system and all that kind of stuff. If you're just going to take it, you can get more space and roominess and height, ceiling heights and all kinds of stuff out of the park model. So I'll definitely be looking at that. That's a great solution for that. Deb, what are some of the things that they tack on? We've been covering that. We'll cover some more of those. Paul wants to know, how do you know if you truly get the out-the-door price? Can you answer that one for Paul?
Well, I touched on it a little bit, but how do you know if you truly get? Well, I mean, anybody that's ever bought anything knows that the difference between getting taken advantage of and getting a good deal is whether you met a real salesman or not. And now, salespeople, especially in RVs, it's an art form for them. And and to find a place where you genuinely feel like you're being taken care of, like that person is listening to every single one of your concerns and never discounting anything. I know that's how I personally practice. My work here is that it's one person at a time, and I take my time with people to make sure that everything is understood up front the way it should be, right? So, I mean, we're not going down to 7-Eleven to buy a bag of Doritos,
right?
We're talking about a lot of money here, and so it's something within you that you got to really truly feel like you are being taken care of. And a lot of the times you go to these dealerships, you don't get that feeling.
Yeah. And then Rhonda asked, can you ask for itemized list that supports the out-the-door price? Yeah, definitely ask for itemized list. They should show you, we'll talk about this next fee, doc and title fee. You want to explain what that is? Because that's something, you should see all these things that Eric's going to talk about here on that list, from the taxes to everything.
Right. So the doc fee, the documentation fee, and is what it is. That is a fee that you can expect to pay. Now, typically, most states are going to be anywhere between $200 and $350. I know ours over here specifically is $250, which is usually about the standard that you're going to see across the nation. So that's something that you can expect to pay. That's how, everybody gets paid in the back office, the admin and everything like that. And then the title fee is typically what you can see on a title fee might be around $40 to $150. I know what our title fee is $45 here, and again that goes into paying our administrative persons in the back. So that is something that you can expect to pay. And
if you see like a lot more, most states I don't think charge much more than that, but if you see it hit 500, I would be asking questions about that too.
Questions about that.
But make sure you have something. There should be something in there for that.
Yeah, and you'll see other things too. Like a factory freight fee is something that you won't be able to get out of.
Talk about that.
And typically it's going to be covered under something of like a transportation fee. So it goes into the cost of the trailer, is because that's what it costs the dealership to get it there from the factory. So that is something that that you are expected to pay. Now, typically 90% of these RVs in the country are built over in the same region of Indiana. So how do you know if you're getting taken advantage of here? Well, typically freight costs are going to be anywhere between $1.50 to $2 a mile. So if you're out in California, you can expect that you might see a factory freight fee of around $4,000. Well, so you want to ask them, how much is the rate that is being charged on factory freight, and do the math yourself. If it doesn't line up, then they're packing that with profit, which I've seen a lot actually.
Yeah. So just get on your map, go to Elkhart, Indiana, put in there to your city, and figure out what that number is. What is that number for you guys to get it from Elkhart to Ohio?
It's about $360.
Yeah, so that fee would show up. And another tip, make sure that is separated out, because a lot of times in, like, say, California and Florida, where there's a big factory freight fee, they may roll that into the price of the trailer, and you don't want to pay tax on that. So they should be pulling that out, so you're not paying sales tax on the part that was just getting it from one place to the other. So don't forget about that.
Right.
All right. A couple questions. Dante, we'll get, I'll have Eric look up when they're getting the FR3 in, the 34D. We can get that to you later. Walt, is there advantage purchasing close to home? Yeah, because we get this question, I know, because you guys sell all over the nation, but I see this question a lot on these webinars is, how in the world do you take care of people that are buying in Washington, on an island in Washington, and but they're buying from Ohio? And can you explain what we have in place there to take care of folks like that?
Right. And you know, with I mean, you know Mike and David, they're people kind of people.
Yeah, so that's the owners, the co-founders of the organization.
Yeah, you know, my boss is over here at RV Wholesalers. You know, they are people kind of people. That's the whole model of which this business was even laid on, was based on people. Now, we started doing something several years back. I want to say it was about 17 or 18 years ago. And it comes from us being the first dealer in the country to sell an RV on the internet. It was actually on eBay. You know, but after we started getting a lot of popularity with that, we noticed customers all over the country that we weren't, that they would have a problem, and they take it to their local dealer and they say, well, sorry, you didn't buy it from us. And I don't know, I guess they're allergic to money or something, but it's, you know, they'll tell them, sorry, well, you didn't buy from us. We can't help you. And so what do? Well, we started asking people if they had a local RV service center, independently owned, or a technician, plumber, electrician, HVAC tech. Anybody that is able and capable of doing the repair work. And now here it is, 17 or 18 years later, we've got over 2,600 contacts at our fingertips that is coming at no extra charge.
Yeah,
you know, to take care of people.
I looked at your list. It was like all over 2,900 already. And
yeah, I thought it was getting closer to 3,000. I just wasn't sure now.
Yeah, I even well, that's the cool thing about it. It's not just your typical RV service centers. It's mobile HVAC repair people that can come out to a campground. So instead of you going and waiting 12 weeks or whatever it is at a lot of these RV places to get in for service, the one call to the concierge and somebody's out at a campsite, you know, within hours instead of weeks or whatever, you know, all different scenarios.
And to the point, like with mobile technicians, we have mobile technicians all over the place. And, you know, to say for somebody like Candace that's watching us now, you know, her plan is to live in this thing full time. You know, it's not gonna be really all that possible for her to pack up and go to a service center to get her essentially her home serviced. Yeah,
because it's all, I mean, it's locked down. She's probably got insulation around the base. I mean, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, and the same with camping. It's like when I take a camper camping, like I don't go, you know, 3 miles down to the little local campground here. Like I want to take my family. We want to go out, you know, like get somewhere where there's a beach or get somewhere nice, like away from home, you know. So we may be 10 hours out. And so me buying at my local dealer doesn't really help me much, other than because it doesn't break down when it's just sitting here in the winter waiting for camping season. So,
you know, anyway, there's something that I'd like to kind of expand on here, that another way that a dealer can really kind of pull you in is, you know, first, what's the point in buying something if when it breaks, you can't get it worked on? You know, what's the point? So, you know, if you ask this to your local dealer saying, where can I go to get this trailer serviced? And there is one response that I hear is pretty much what everybody says. you can take it to any Forest River or any Thor dealership across the country. And that is to be received as a very, very big red flag, because it's far from the truth. Now, all RV dealers in the country and even Southern Canada are independently owned. There is a single person at the top of it, meaning they don't have corporate backing like a Ford or Chevy that you can just take to any RV dealer across the country to get service. That's not the case. So if you hear that, that is to be received as a very big red flag, because that is not the case. Even if you look at the back of a brochure, you know, without a nationwide service network in place like what we offer, you know, that manufacturer will recommend that you stay close to home.
Yeah, that's a good point. Jim asked, what are pros and cons about extended warranties? We're going to dive into that in more detail after we talk about financing, a couple other big buying mistakes people are making that we see. Steve, though, I want to help Steve out, because he is asking why, with so many different brands of campers and price ranges, how do I determine which model is a good one? So break it down real fast for you, Steve, because it is overwhelming. In fact, when I started helping out with these webinars and these virtual shows and stuff, when I first came in, I thought an RV was a motorhome. Like motorhome and RV, that was the same thing. You know, I didn't realize RV stands for the whole category of motorhomes, class A, Bs, and Cs, toy haulers, and all the travel trailers that go along. That's all rolled up into an RV. So for me, an RV, I saw movies on TV, you know, they talked about the RVs. The RV was a motorhome, but no, it's actually the whole category. So you just kind of, I would start with the first thing is figuring out, like our friend that figured out that may need a park model. So let's figure out what type you need. You know, are you going to haul, you want to haul a four-wheeler or go places where you need some extra, where you need a ramp that can come down, unload something out of a back room, turn it into a like a back porch when you're not using it as storage and a ramp. That's called a toy hauler. So then you can also figure out if you're thinking of travel trailers, do I need what kind of truck or vehicle? If I have a truck that's big enough, I can do a fifth wheel, which gives you better steering and towing, and you can get something bigger as far as the travel trailer goes. But then also look at if you're towing it with a Yukon or SUV of some sort, then you have size restrictions. So I would start with well, if you guys want to test this out, I just built this website called towingcalculator.org. I'll put that in the brochure thing. But first, start with figuring out what your towing capacity is of your vehicle. So towingcalculator.org is a free place you can go and get calculations on what your vehicle can tow. So that will tell you how big of a trailer. So I would start with that, then figure out the category. If you want, you don't want to tow anything and you want it to be a Class A, B, or C motorhome, you can go that route. Those are a lot easier to drive than you don't have to have CDLs or anything for those. They're not as bad as it seems, but they're also getting harder and harder to find too. Demand's going up on those. And so start asking those kind of questions. Just break it down first by category. And anything else you want to talk about that?
When somebody asks me, what's a good trailer? Well, I mean, it's a pretty broad question. Now, first I'd like to start off with, what do you have in mind for budget? Because say, for example, there's a super high quality trailer, but it's $15,000 out of budget. I'm not going to show that to them because, well, it could be open to interpretation of what I'm trying to do. But for example, let's take budget out of the question. Now, what kind of framework does it have? Typically, something that I'd like to see is something with aluminum framework and Asdel construction. Something like a Rockwood, for example. I'm a big fan of the Rockwood brand. I guess you can say that I'm pretty close to being biased towards a Rockwood product just because of the craftsmanship, overall build quality, and what you get for the price point. There's other trailers out there too that would be similar. Oh, there's your ASDO or your framework.
Yeah, so instead of wooden studs, so basically it comes as a chassis, and they build a floor on it, and then they build it like a house almost, where instead of wooden studs, they put these wall systems in that are all aluminum welded together, and it's all vacuum sealed, and it's a really tight insulated system that's great for bouncing down the road because there's no screws. It's all glued and
that actually
welded.
Looks like a Rockwood.
Yeah, it is actually a Rockwood piece. And then here's the roof. So the roof has a lot thicker aluminum, all welded together, and then it's got the different coatings and stuff, insulation all worked in. So, but yeah, so there's basically two types, right? Either that, or you have more of a traditional wood frame with aluminum siding over it. So you kind of have to decide. You pay more for the fiberglass and the aluminum, but you also have some weight advantages, and you have some other.
Of course, so, yeah.
There's a lot
to look at. Nothing wrong with the old traditional build frame and style of these trailers. I mean, shoot, they've been doing it that way for, ever. So, but of course, with newer product and newer technology comes a better overall unit. And I'll sit here and continue to toot Rockwood's horn for them. They make a superior product, and I've seen on many occasions where customers can get into a dicey situation while towing one, and maybe wreck it, and it hardly even takes any damage. And it's I've seen it, with my own eyes. It's Rockwood has nothing more to prove to me personally that they are a superior product.
Yeah, and Steve, to answer your question, I know I've watched the owners of RV Wholesalers and how they kind of pick which manufacturers they work with. And David, the owner, one of the founders, he actually has his office up in the warranty and service area, the apartment. So it's all open. Yeah, it's right above where Eric is right now. He's probably, and the reason he did that, and he's been there for 2 years, there's not even a window in his office. It's just all an open area where all these reps are there, like concierge, and people handling the setting up appointments and all the stuff for warranty and service. But he wanted to do it because he wanted to know which ones were having issues down the road, which ones had the most warranty issues that they were seeing happening. And that's kind of how he makes his decision on which ones he carries, which lines he carries, and which ones they cancel. Like he just canceled a big line. What was the one that Heartland? Yeah. So there was a big line that got canceled just because things weren't getting kept up as far as service and having issues and different things and that's so you can kind of look at the lines that RV Wholesalers is carrying if you want to kind of see which ones have gone through that test that they've discovered. But I've been real impressed, like you said, with Rockwood and a bunch of these different lines, and was just in the motorhome world, was just out last week at Nexus RV, nexusrv.com. You can see some of their stuff, but I was out there at their factory, and because this is a line that's just getting going with you guys. But I went through the factory, and it was really cool to see that they were spending extra money to put in different type of structure, like the steel framing, and and how much stronger, 72% stronger, and just some of the advantages for these big motorhomes. I mean, because you're paying that kind of money for a motorhome, you really want it to last, and they were able to do it a lot less expensive than their competitors. So that's cool. But that's the kind of thing that's happening all the time. A lot of evaluating that. You definitely, and we'll get into the warranty thing in a little bit, but let's see. A couple more questions. I checked. Only coverage goes 2010. Okay, kind of checked out the towing calculator. Kind of, you're going to make more work. I have I have 176,000 vehicle towing things in there, and now you want me to go back 5 more years? I was just happy to get 11 years in there.
There's a lot of information to put in there.
That's a lot. All right, I'll work on that. Kathy asked, "Does Rockwood make toy haulers?" Can you answer that question?
Well, they make a small toy hauler. I too would love for Rockwood to make more toy haulers. It would touch my heart in so many ways, because I would buy one instantly. Now they do make a small one in the Rockwood GeoPro. It's the G19 TH, I believe. But something comparable to that in a toy hauler version would be the XLR Hyperlight.
I was going to say, XLR makes they focus all on toy haulers pretty much. So they do a great job with that. So check out that XLR. RVWholesalers.com is where you can start poking around. And then if there's a bunch of videos too out on their YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and type in RV Wholesalers, you can subscribe to that channel and start to see all kinds of walkthroughs and videos and stuff. So, but yeah. All right, let's talk about financing. There's some really interesting information that you guys have to figure out about this. And we were talking about, one of the ladies had a question about, can you dick around price? Yeah, for them, you definitely, you need to play the game. You got to go in there.
Squeeze them.
Yeah, when they give you a price, just like shake your head, just wait. Don't just say, "Oh, that sounds good." Yeah, but it's a little different for a wholesaler. Where you guys come in at the rock bottom pricing across the board and give people, but yeah, for the most part, that's not happening across the nation right now. So there's a lot of extra money, and then we're going to talk about what's happening in financing. So I wanted to give you a quick little 2-minute video with Dallas, and he's our finance and F&I, like a whole. Yeah,
he's one of our finance officers.
Finance experts. He's probably helped, I don't know, tens of thousands of people get into RVs. And so I want him to explain the difference with RV terms and such. So here's Dallas.
Hey guys, Dallas Henry here. I'm going to talk to you guys today a little bit about financing an RV, a couple of the tips, tricks, things you might need to know. One big thing a lot of people don't know is when it comes to RVs is term. Term with recreational vehicles can be a lot longer than what most people are used to, especially financing cars and things like that. One big thing to remember is generally they'll go out to sometimes 20 years. I know it seems crazy to some people, but it's quite a long time. They want to make that payment really manageable. Now with recreational vehicles, if you have pretty good credit, longer term often means better rate, which is kind of flips everything on its head of whatever everybody really knows, again, when it comes to cars and mortgages and things like that. Because generally with those type of items, the shorter term generally means better rate. Okay, with RVs, remember, that's not always the case. If you got pretty good credit, normally the longer term, better rate. So that's one big thing to remember when you're going to finance a recreational vehicle. So keep that in mind as you go. Again, just to recap, longer term, good credit, typically a little bit better rate. So keep that in mind. Don't be afraid of that longer term. Even if you want to pay it off a little earlier, that's okay. They are simple interest loans. At least they should be. With all of our lenders, they are simple interest loans. So you can pay the loan off a little bit earlier. Okay, if you guys so choose you want to do it. And you can apply more money to principal. That'll have you paying at least a lot less interest over the term of that loan, whatever the term you decide it is. Once you lock in a deal with a bank or lock in a deal with a dealer, you can change how fast you pay it off. You can change how much money you throw towards the interest and the principal and things like that. One thing you can't change is the rate. So remember that. You always want to get the best rate, and a lot of times that is longer term. Okay. Another thing to remember is don't ever tie your recreational vehicle loan to your house. A lot of people think, hey, really good rates with my home equity loan. Put a lot of work into this house. I want to use that equity. Not a real good, wise idea. I'm not a financial analyst by any stretch of the imagination. But what I will tell you is when the proverbial hits the fan, you know, and things happen. As so many people know in 2020, there's a lot of things that have happened this year that no one expected to happen. One thing that can happen is you can lose your job. You can have time off, you know, things that you might not be getting the money you thought you were getting. So in that situation, the last thing you want to have happen is you not be able to make your RV payment and that be tied to your house, because now if something happens, they're not coming to just get your RV, they're coming to get the house now too. So don't risk your family, don't risk your livelihood, don't risk your finances by doing something like that. It's something to really remember.
Yeah, that was good. Real quick before we dive into terms, I wanted to cover this one. Number 2, not getting the most for your trade-in. So basically, I saw that a lot of people, let's see here, this is 36% of the folks said that this will not be their first RV. And then the other 42% or 62% said it will be their first time purchasing an RV. So those folks that have an RV that are going to trade it in and different things, what we're saying and what you've seen, Red Eric, is that it's better just to sell it outright. You're going to get a lot more money for it, and it's going to be, the way to do it. So things like Facebook Marketplace and RV Trader. Is your mute on mute? Yeah, there we go. Facebook Marketplace and RV Trader, some places you could sell it. But yeah, you're going to see people driving from cities away, you know, coming to want to buy this thing, and they're going quick. You're seeing it really fast. So I'll put up Eric's information here in just a little bit so that you can email him if you need to figure out the value, the NADA book value. You can check on NADA.com, or he's got these huge books that give him the latest and greatest pricing for where you're at. So he can help you out with that. But okay, back to our not understanding terms on RV financing. There's something that I really want people to know, and this big dealer financing secret, and that I need you to explain what that is, Eric, because this blew me away. And this is helpful not only just when buying an RV, any really big purchase, right? Cars, boats, anything that you're financing.
There's something really big out there that if you guys go to a dealership of any sort, it could even be for a four-wheeler, and if you finance that four-wheeler or camper, boat, or car, or semi-truck, anything like that, when they offer in-house financing, that bank, under the agreement that dealership has with them, sends them what's called a kickback. Like it's the technical term is a dealer reserve, but it's used as additional profits, like a thank you for opening up a new account for our financial institution. So you know, something to that you can leverage.
Yeah, it's like a commission. I mean, it's legal. It's a commission, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that's something that's worked out. But if you really want to see a salesman stumble over his words, it can be kind of funny too. Mark, some of these people are actually going to go try it out now. I guarantee you, it's going to be funny. But you go out there and say, okay, you know, you get everything out the door first, and you're like, you know what? And I forgot about asking. I want the dealer reserve that you get from the bank too. And they'll be, what are you talking about? Or they'll play dumb, or they'll. Most salespeople at dealerships don't even know that this exists. I came from car sales before this, and I never even knew what it was before I came to work here. You know, and I'm like, man, you know how many?
Yeah, they do a good job keeping that secret.
You know, it's like, how many cars have I bought and I didn't even know about this? And but
yeah, I mean, you always thought, oh, cash is king. I go in there with cash,
exactly.
I can wheel them down to a better price. Well, that means if you're paying cash, that means they're not getting that big. That nice little chunk of gift, a little commission gift from the bank. So
yeah, and something to expect, like how much is that check? Because I know somebody's probably typing it in right now. How much do they usually get back? Well, but they normally get back, say we'll use $30,000 on, for example. If you do an in-house loan on $30,000, typically you can expect back about three to $3,500. It's usually around 10% or something that is a high volume trailer, like say a Wildwood FSX, for example, is 3,500 because it's such a high volume of finance trailer. So there's a couple in here and there that can get more, but typically rule of thumb is going to be about 10% of the amount to be financed.
I learned this trick from talking to the finance guys, is that what's happening when they are shot, how they'll take you fill out your credit app and all that, and then they figure out, I'm going to shop for the best rate for you guys. And then they compare I don't know how many lenders you guys have, but 12 to probably 15 different banks that you can work with. Some are more geared for people with lower credit and some, like different specialties. But I remember hearing for the first time that a lot of these dealers aren't really shopping to get you the best rate. They're shopping to get the best, what do you call it? The dealer reserve, or the biggest commission basically back to the dealership. And man, it all makes sense now that I understand the big behind the scenes picture, but I had no idea that you could ask for that. And
so, you gotta, whenever you're going through with this, of course you always want to have a general idea at least where your credit rating is, knowing that like if you're an 800 score, you best not be sent to somewhere that's a subprime lender, because sometimes these subprime lenders send the biggest reserves. So if you're top tier credit being sent to subpar lending, that's or subprime lending, that's just that's impacting in profits. So possibly even if maybe you suggest a bank that you want to work with, like Bank of America, US Bank, Huntington, something like that, to help really cater towards your purchase.
Yeah, and the nice thing about say they buy from RV Wholesalers, at least I don't know if it's true with all of them, but it's basically a 1-year commitment. So I know some people are asking, like, what about cash? If I've saved up, like this is our dream. We've been, we're retiring. We sold this, and we're gonna put our money into an RV, and we want to pay cash. And that's awesome that they're able to do that. However, what you can do, right, is you can keep that loan for it's required at least 12 months, but you could pay the bulk of it off on that first payment. So you could keep all but your minimum payment. So you could pay, say it's a $30,000 trailer, you could pay whatever, $27,000 or whatever it is,
right?
And then make the additional 11 payments.
I normally like to advise people to, just to be on the safe side, 13 or 14 months, just so you don't accidentally overpay it. Or pay it off too quickly,
but
so
all
you
that,
can get that reserve.
But you're only paying a tiny bit of interest.
Yeah.
So say you end up throwing away $300 worth of interest money, but by doing that, you're getting, what do you say, 3,500, whatever the number is. You're getting a big chunk of discount given back to you. And here's how it all happened, at least for you guys. I don't know. I don't think any other dealers do this, but the owners, when they first started doing financing through banks, lenders, they had sold some RVs. All of a sudden, they get a check in the mail, and they're like, "What is this from the bank? Like, why are we getting a check from the bank that's servicing our loans?" And they had already worked in their profit margins that they needed to be sustainable and pay all their people and everything. And then all of a sudden this extra check came in. It's like, well, and that's kind of when the light bulb went off. It's like, well, we weren't expecting it. Why don't we give that back to the customer? And so that's how it all started, this finance discount that we're talking about here. But yeah, so no matter what you're buying, this should save you thousands, and don't be afraid to ask for it. And I think that's awesome. We're going to move on to real quick. We talked about service and nationwide service and things. I want to really hit this buying a service agreement that doesn't cover much. This is the other last mistake. People need to understand, should you even waste your money on a service agreement? Like, that's what I thought as a kid growing up, where my dad said, oh yeah, you know, when we check out at Walmart and they ask you, do you want to pay an extra $12 for that $100 device? And I learned to say no, but it's a little different when I started driving RVs around the country and seeing how much they bounce around and how bad the roads are, and realizing that you can't just go down to Home Depot and pick up this new refrigerator that will just slide in place. And, you know, they don't have propane refrigerators and 12-volt refrigerators and mini refrigerators. And, you know, like, this ends up being a very expensive item when that thing gets shaken up too much and decides it's only going to last for 3 years or whatever. You just never know. I mean, it's a rough environment for anything, you know, and so that's where these make a lot of sense. But there's a couple of different types, and I want to make sure that you get one that's really going to pay the bills, and that's where you need to spend some time. What are the two types there? You've got your stated, which basically you'll get a contract where you'll get a contract that states what's covered. So it may have a list of 30 items or something that are covered. So that's called a stated service agreement. And then you have your exclusionary, which I like to say is it's more all-inclusive, because it's saying everything on this vehicle is covered except these items. So it's kind of the inverse. Stated, a lot of times it may be a little cheaper. Sometimes what we're seeing in some of the big chains of dealerships is that they'll sell a stated at almost an exclusionary price. So they get more for a stated, but it's only covering these items. And then when down the road you realize, like, oh, that's not covered because that's connected to that, and that's and where exclusionary, it's this is not covered. This is a wear and tear item, like brake pads, or this is light bulbs, which you have to replace yourself, or, you know, like, it's list out the few things that aren't covered. And so you're going to get a lot. I mean, the purpose of a warranty or extended service contract really is, right, to have them take care of the expensive bills. I mean, it's a peace of mind, and you want to know that they're going to pay the bill when it's time. It's not like, oh, I'm going to be fighting because this isn't on the list. And so that's why definitely ask that question. Is it stated or exclusionary? And then make sure you look at the list and read fine print. Don't just take the salesperson's quick overview of it. Really look at that service contract. It will be all written out there. And there's a lot of really cool things that they cover. I mean, I know the ones you guys carry cover food spoilage and hotels while you're waiting for repairs, and I mean, all kinds of stuff that you never really think about until the situation happens when you're camping, or and all that. So good questions. Well, to kind of add on with this, is like, is it worth it? Yeah, I mean, it most definitely is. I mean, because some people think, you know, and there's probably, I'd say probably more than half of the people that are watching this right now would probably never buy an extended warranty for anything. And, you know, and that's okay. But, you know, something to consider is that this RV is not a Honda Civic that is just designed to go 300,000 miles right off the assembly line. You know, it's a big open rectangular box that bounces down the road. And, you know, so, you know, do things break? Yeah, they do. Nobody ever wants to talk about it, but it's the truth. And so, you know, what are you going to do when it does? So, yeah, I mean, something to consider is getting that extended coverage policy, and, you know, making sure that you read, as Tim was saying, to see what is excluded, because typically on an excluded warranty, you're going to have more things that are actually included versus stated. So for, you know, like
I've seen it before where, somebody didn't purchase slide awnings and they had a pine cone drop on top of their slide, and it quite literally, a pine cone really ruined their whole trip, because they rolled that slide in with the pine cone on top of it, and it sliced that inner slide seal. And to replace it requires pulling the whole slide out, which is about $4,000 on average. And I mean, so it's something as small as a pine cone can really ruin your day and your wallet too if you don't have
right.
some sort of coverage. So is it worth it? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but only time it may, like our friend, what was her name, that was looking for the park model.
Donna,
I mean, for her, for Donna, it may not even make sense for, like that may be a case where you're just taking it one place, get it there, it's not bouncing around, I mean, you may be fine without it, or just getting a minimum, one that covers. And that's the thing, they can kind of scale it back, or and it's not just a one size fits all kind of thing. And the one to really watch though, I think, is that Warranty Forever. Man, oh my word. I was at a RV dealers only show, and the guys were like coming up. It's like, Tim, well, they didn't know my name. I guess my name badge, but they're just like, you're going to love this. This will be perfect for your dealership because on average, each person that buys into this, or that you give this Warranty Forever, they're required to keep the warranty. They have to come in within 1 year, otherwise it's null and void. So if they don't come in every single year and get service work done on the roof and all this stuff, then their warranty's void. So it's an automatic, like on average, $900 for every customer you're going to make every single year in service because of the things they'll have done, or that, to keep this alive, this warranty going. So I was like, oh, there were little red flags went up, but we're running out of time. But I wanted to make sure that people like our friend that Kenneth, who needs to know how much his 2000 or 1983 Ford truck can tow. Sorry, that he can email you, and you will totally hook him up with whatever he needs to know. So anybody that has questions that we didn't get to, I wish we could get to more questions. We're out of time, but we did answer Michael's about forever warranty. So
just stay away from those.
But yeah, no, it's been fun pumping as much information as he can in a short amount of time. I wish we had more time, but reach out to Eric. And the owner said if the first two people that email you the word 500 and end up buying in the next day or two, I don't know how many people are ready to buy an RV, but that you can hook them up with a $500 credit towards delivery. So anywhere they're getting it delivered in the country, you can take $500 off that.
That's right.
Off that price. So just put 500 in the email, or in the text, in the subject of the email. Email it to Eric, and then he'll look at the first two people that he gets that have 500 in there. And when he reaches out to you, he'll let you know. But here's his phone number. I appreciate you taking time. I know it's a busy time. Lots of people coming in on Saturday.
Oh yeah.
And appreciate you taking time to give up all that to just educate people. And
it's no problem. So. I love being able to connect with all of you, and I'm glad you were able to tune in today.
Well, Ken already figured out his towing rate, so he's just messing with us, giving us a hard time. So, so if you guys want to say goodbye in the chat, put in there, I want to hear what your dream vacation is, or where you want to take this RV. If you have like, I want to take it to the Mount Rushmore, or like whatever it is that you want to use. I want to go see my grandkids' soccer games, and we want to, take the team with us, or whatever. Tell us how you want to use an RV, and we'll hang out and chat for a few minutes when we hang up here. But appreciate you, and thanks, and happy camping soon.